Welcome to the Martin E. Segal Theatre Center here at the Graduate Center CUNY and to Prelude 21, Start Making Sense. It is our annual theater and performance festival celebrating the work of New York theater artists and ensembles. And it's hard enough in normal times to create work for the stage and for spaces inside and outside, but in the time of Corona, we all are faced with exceptional challenges. And we are here to celebrate again the extraordinary achievements that come out of the New York theater community. It is time, I think, and we feel, to start making sense, to ask questions. Why are we making theater? But also, how are we producing it? And for whom? And this is a great investigation again into the mechanics of making art in New York City. And we also invited theater ensembles from around the US, from Detroit and Cincinnati, St. Louis and Philadelphia, New Orleans, to join us. And this will be an extraordinary look into what is on the minds of artists right now. We also have many panel discussions. We have an award which we're giving out to honor outstanding members of the New York theater community. So I would like to all of you to join in and get an insight of what is happening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Stefa, Marin Alarcon. Thank you so much, Prelude Fest 2021, for having us, and David Mendizabal for inviting me to share about my work and my process with Prelude. That video that you just saw was a photo of me as a young little one with my mother, Maris Marin, and with my sister, Maura and Andrea Marin. And I have been thinking a lot about centering my baby self and what it means to bring back my baby self as a reminder of resiliency and joy and fearlessness. And so I wanted to share that image with you. And I want to start with a loop and an intention. I begin my live performance music shows with a collective wish, a shared yearning, really for safety, for autonomy over our bodies, over our spaces, a collective wish for space itself, a physical space to be safe in. And with that, wherever you are, maybe you can close your eyes. You can put a hand maybe on your heart, kind of see how your breathing is right now. And with that, think of a memory somewhere that you felt safe, seen. Maybe this is a place. Maybe this is a person you could be yourself around. Hold on to that. And let's make space for that place. Even if you feel it doesn't exist yet, maybe we can imagine it together. This song that I'm gonna start the Q&Q with is called Una Casita, and it means a little home. And I sing it for the homes that we've lost, the homes that we have yet to know. I sing it for my mother. I sing it for all the mothers of the world so that they can find rest. Quiero una casa al lado del río para que tú vengas a pedirme un litro de río. Y yo te lo voy a dar muy fresquita y bien helada. Yo te voy a dar esa agüita encañada. Aquí estemos juntos, abrazado en día, abrazado en noche, también y siento vida. Esta es nuestra casa donde soñaremos juntos y donde yo también te haré el amor, mi amor. Quiero una casa, 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 quiero una casa. Quiero una casa, 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 quiero la que vive en mis sueños. En esa casa, la que vive en mis solo para mí, es solo para mí. Y esa casa no es solo para mí, no es solo para mí. Esa casa que encuentro no es solo para mí, no es solo para mí. Para mi mamá, 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 para que no tenga que trabajar, para que no tenga que trabajar, para que no tenga que trabajar, para que no tenga que trabajar. No me quiten los sueños, 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 quiero una casa, quiero una casa. Thanks, friends. I'm really excited to share a few things with you tonight. We're going to be joined by Ita Segev later, who is my friend, who is a fantastic artist, who inspires me. And first, we're going to go into the screening portion of the Q&Q. And tonight, we're going to be watching 3 of my video pieces, which I collaborated with beautiful artists on. The first 2 videos are videos that I've shared since 2018 and since 2020. And the last video of our screening portion is a brand new video piece, which I am incredibly excited to share with y'all tonight. It's not out in the public world yet, so this is a very, very exclusive screening tonight. So I'm really excited. We are going to start with our screening portion of the evening, and then we're going to move on into more fun stuff. So take it away, Jackie. Sepalina wea, Sepalina wea, Sepalina wea. Hirapika muina, hirapika muina, hirapika muina, hirapika muina. Astre, astre me, astre, astre me. Eba doa doa de, eba doa doa de.
Sepalina way, Sepalina way, Ebado adoade, Ebado adoade, Sepalina way, Sepalina way, you maki bari, you maki bari. identificado con tus ideales de lo que es ser mujer y jamás pedir disculpas por ser. El arco iris de mi alma me sigue vomitando colores, no puede vencer mis razones por querer seguir luchando, lo hago logrando, llorando por ellas antes y después. Sigue la libertad. Que no vengan por mí, que yo sí ya me fui, mamá.
Screaming. Woo! We did it, baby, and we did it on a budget.
You're so
We
talented.
did it. And we did. Thank you, Miss Ita Segev. Welcome
Oh.
to the digital sphere of the Q&Q first edition.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, everyone, I'm really excited to have Ita join the conversation and the Q&Q tonight. We almost conceived this together, this idea of just like looping together into oblivion. So, this is just one way of our loop manifesting. And I want to read Ita's bio because I never get to do stuff like that. And I'm just like, I'm a curator now. I'm facilitating. So I get to now read someone else's bio. So, buckle in, baby.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Ita Segev is an anti-Zionist Jewish transsexual from Jerusalem, currently based in Lenape-Hoking, Brooklyn. She makes performances, writes, acts, performs, and does cultural community mobilizing work. Using both a multi and undisciplined approach, her work longs to disrupt the systems that confine our bodies, borders, and capacity for care. Recent credits include recording an album led by Ethan Philbrick and the Gay Divorcees, acting in Shakina Nafak's Chonburi International Hotel and Butterfly Club, creating and performing her full-length multimedia performance Not in My Name, which had its world premiere at Gibney, New York City, and I was blessed to be there, and founding Space for the Girls, a residency for trans women and femmes making live performance in New York City. Welcome, Ita Segev, to the Q&Q.
Yes, I love it. I love the sound effect.
Thank you.
Thank
I thought
you.
I do have this expensive looper. I might as well use it.
Totally. Yeah, thank you for having me, Stefa. Thank you, Prelude. Thank you, everyone who's watching. I'll just start by saying, just sort of full disclosure, I am currently dog sitting this incredibly codependent Chihuahua, and I'm indulging the codependent Chihuahua's codependency, which maybe tells you something about me. So it's currently on my lap, and I think it's gonna be chill. He's gonna be chill, but if you suddenly see a tiny head pop in the screen,
I love it.
You know.
We welcome all species here. How did he like did he like the song, the Casita? Did he have any favorite of the videos?
I'm on.
Oh, he didn't get to hear. He didn't get to hear. Okay. Thank you
He
for being
didn't
honest.
earn. He didn't earn it. But before diving into some questions for you, Stefa, and your incredible body of work, you asked me to read something, correct?
I did ask you to read something because I am just such a fan of your writing and the way that you put thoughts together. It's not an easy thing, and it's not a thing you come across all the time. And so I wanted to give space to your beautiful words. So
Thank you.
please.
So this is a very short poem I recently wrote, and it's called Body Language. And it goes like this. I don't want to write about migration in English, nor use my transness as metaphor. I translate my context and body for work and my origin story, it's sore. I hate both cis men and America equally until they pay my rent. Then I'll win an Oscar and thank my rich husband and show that I'm worth the investment. Because trannies and migrants, we need to sell hope and conceal any sign of lament. But I grieve what my people inflicted and lived through in the name of the American pocket. So when empire falls, I will make sure to wear that which makes my tits look spectacular. Because I want to be sure that I feel fucking good when I dance with my borderless ancestors. That's it. Crowd goes wild. Snaps.
Stunning.
So now thank you. But
So
let's talk
beautiful. I
about
love
you.
that one.
Let's talk about you a little.
All right, fine.
So, I think what's exciting about this format for me as your friend and as someone who loves your work is that we're getting to sort of see like a lineage or a body of work over 3 or 4 really significant years, like both for you as a person and also like for the world, I would say. Always dramatic, but like especially dramatic couple of years. And in doing that, I think I was, maybe I'm a Capricorn, full disclosure. So I was sort of looking at like organizing principles. And I was thinking of like ways in which the work remained the same, or not the same, but how things sort of cut through the videos and reappeared and what things changed. And I'm curious to hear your experience of that, of like how the practice is consistent and how it's changed over the last few years. But I'll just like throw in a few things you can bounce off of that I found really interesting. The first, which we talked a little bit about, is sort of your relationship to nature. Like nature as a visual thing appears in all of the videos you shared, which is specifically, I think, interesting because you're like very much your identity is rooted in being like born and raised in Queens, like in the sort of urban epicenter of the world, maybe. And so I was wondering about that relationship. And I was also wondering about the relationship of like who's watching. I felt like in the first song you shared live, which was so beautiful, and the first video you shared, we are all sort of in this softness with you, like we're dreaming with you. There's even a collective we that you speak of in the song, like we're in it together. And as the videos progressed, I think there's a bit of like more of a complicated like tension between like there's rage, there's sarcasm, there's sort of a machete, you know what I mean? There's like a big sign that says intense. And not that I mean to like frame those as like oppositional at all, but I was just like curious about sort of, like how your relationship to who's watching has changed over the last few years, if that makes sense. Sorry, that's a lot to start with, but we have,
We
let's jump in.
We love. I think I feel like because I've been thinking about my first record, which was Sepolina, which was the first video that we saw. And then this next record that's coming out, Born with an Extra Rib. And I'm thinking about my journey from, I think with my first, with my first songs that I was writing, I think I was really desperate to feel where I was from and like find and create this like neither here nor there kind of give myself that space. And when that first video that I shared, I was in Abya on the coast of Ecuador, and I just felt a very big need and desire to engage with the space around me, because I had never sung, in that land, and I had never created work in that land, and I had never, hung out with a bunch of artists who were like my age and, from Latin America, together in that space. And so I think that was a really big driving force between my first set of music and my first video. And I think now I'm shifting into like from where I'm from to who I am. And those aren't necessarily always the same things, or like, or have to be kept completely separate. As we know, where we're from is very much a part of the fabric of our identities, but also coming back to the body, which I think I saw the earth in my earlier songs as, I think I've always seen it as an extension of myself, but I think I was trying different ways to connect with it because I have felt so disconnected from it my whole life. And so making Sepolina and creating the story of like native alien who wakes up in a deserted planet and has no memory of getting there, and like how do they figure out how to communicate with people, and how do they figure out where they came from, and or to find their way back home, or is this their home? I think I needed to create those scenarios and that like skeleton for myself to begin to feel like this could be my home. This land is my home as well,
Yeah. I think that makes me think about a bunch of stuff, but it makes me sort of wonder about like if and how you feel that you're like, do you feel like you're speaking to different people when you are speaking to like people in quote unquote like Latin America versus like people in this land, like the Spanish versus English, like sort of, does that feel to you like a consistency or like a split, or sort of how do you navigate that? And I think, sorry, I have more questions, but maybe talk about that.
I love. How do I navigate languages?
Languages, I guess, as an extension of like who you're talking to, and like how who you're talking to changes, like what you like I can maybe this is also my projection, but like when I'm speaking in English, a lot of times in my head I'm speaking to like an American audience, and that brings up to me like a very specific relationship, which is a lot of things, because I've also like lived here for many years. But I think there's like this sort of like primary feeling of like, okay, I'm in the belly of like the empire, speaking to like from within the machine that makes like life difficult to all the places I'm attached to, whether my family in El Salvador or my family in Palestine, Israel. So that to me brings up like a very different experience than when I'm talking, let's say, like in Hebrew. I feel like I speak differently, like my intention is different.
Absolutely. With, with Sepolina, I felt like in the first, and where that song came from was my desire to connect with my ancestry and to take their songs and embody them and arrange them in such a way where I could sing them in, in a chorus or with a live band. And I think in that moment I was speaking to my ancestors, and I was trying to really see if I could connect with them by speaking their language, even though I didn't understand what I was saying, because I don't know the indigenous language of my grandmother, which is Mbera. But I found these songs and I was like, I'm gonna sing them. Like, if there's something that I can do, it's interpret music. How is that gonna shift my body? And then that became Sepolina specifically. I think I was speaking to the masses and the global majority, which for many decades people have called minorities, but we are now, we're the global majority. So I was speaking to them because, I felt that Sepolina is this call to action. And I think I started that piece with an image, which was, like, what are we going to be singing when we're, you know, in the streets? Or what are we going to be singing when we're like taking over the Capitol? Or what are we going to be singing and saying and yelling when we, all finally do our general strike or whatever? And they're, attacking us in the streets. And yeah, and in that song I switch between Mbera, and I switch in English, and then in Fascist Love, which we shared and watched, it's a song in English, and in there I'm kind of speaking to my contemporaries, to the people around me, to the people who are kind of, my friends, who we're all like, what's a relation? What's a romantic relationship? Like, what's long term? What's commitment? Like, I think that one feels a lot more, just like, I don't know, like intimate in a way. Um, yeah, and in Costillas, in the speaking the Spanish, I think I definitely, whether consciously or not, I do want my work to reach a lot of people, and I think of it as being a bit of something for everyone. Like, I want abuelas to watch it, and I want little kids to listen to it, and I want like my friends, in their 30s, and I want like the Gen Zs to be into it too. Like, I want everyone to listen to it, and I think when I'm raging in Spanish, like, yeah, Costillas is about me, saying to everyone who raised me, and that's my immediate family. And that's also literally like the society that I fucking live in. And like being a little brown kid in New York and Queens, like that is me speaking to all of those people. And also, the very misogynist, quote, Latin American culture, which is saying, women can only be this. And I saw that in my home, and I saw that all around me. It's inevitable. So in that, I think I'm also talking to, like, all the toxic misogynist like Latino men or something.
Totally.
And whatever, like, close-minded people, and just being like, bitch, I'm gonna rage and y'all are gonna hear every word.
Totally. Yeah, I think you're also like bringing up this kind of like tension that I find really interesting between like, I guess like past and future in a way, but both like how you like interpret it. Like I was just thinking of sort of the repeated image of like past photos of you and your family, and how across quote unquote Latin America, there's, you know, there's very much the tradition of like calling upon ancestors, like a photo as a altar, as a way to like talk to ancestors, and simultaneously like as trans, queer, non-binary people, like the childhood photo, you know, is like such a canonized way to
Benchmark,
many
yeah.
times. Also benchmark, and also I feel like way actually to like sort of like always clarify that we're in relationship to this past that is more dominant than us, and there is no way, right? Like I feel like the obsession of like cis people with a childhood photo is this obsession with the before, you know. They're not like interested in a now without like a narrative of before that has to be like in a sort of like shock. The bigger the shocking juxtaposition, the like the juicier, or like I feel like there's also, you know, there's the emotional like like the before photo becomes this like sad event of the helpless child who then like got better, right? There's sort of like all these narratives that I feel like rob us from our agency, but then there's like simultaneously these narratives, these like cultural narratives, these like narratives of ancestry that like seem like they give like a lot of power and a lot of like meaning. And I just like was curious about how you like navigate that with the photos, and also how the vision of this like future, what you imagine is gonna be in the, like you were talking at some point about how about this vision of liberation, of like us singing your songs when we stormed the Capitol. And I was wondering if like looking back now that a couple of years have passed, do you feel like we're closer to that vision? Does that like how do you, what's your relationship to sort of us winning?
Love
Whoever
that
us is.
question.
Yeah.
In terms of like bringing in baby me, I think baby me was a big part of my like my almost like my coping, or like part of my healing, you know, when I realized that I was trans and I like could begin to step into this my transness, like looking at these photos are like, you know, it's like these aha moments happening over and over again, almost like looking back at like me as a kid or at me at certain points in my life, and like seeing how I've always been me and I was just told I was something else. And that's through like, you know, body stuff, or that's through drama school, or that's through voice lessons, or that's like literally anywhere you can think of. I was being told basically like, who you are is not who you are, you know. And bringing in baby Stefa was like remembering who this free or just like this my therapist made me do this thing, right, where like
The Chihuahua had
what was
feelings. That was the Chihuahua protecting baby you.
oh Angel, thank you. Thank you for being here. Love. No, but like my therapist made me do this thing where, you know, going back to like some of the imagery in costillas, I made this other video piece with my friend Cristobal, who I collaborated with on a few of my videos. And he filmed me doing this like purging performance moshing of like spray painting the word intensex, which is intense in Spanish, gender neutral. And as a like reclaiming of this word, because my entire life I was called intense. I'm too intense. I'm too intense. And like everywhere I heard that word up until very recently with some of my exes. And at this point, I'm like, well, if you're gonna, if this is the word that's gonna like bog me down my whole life, I'm like, let me get closer to that word. Like, what does
I'm
that
just like
really mean?
imagining, like, you know, in movie reviews where they put like all the like the one-liners. I'm just imagining like what it would look like if all our exes wrote them, and it's just like intense. Like, not the people you wanna. Go ahead.
Um, exactly. And so, I did this purging ritual of like reclaiming these words that like were, oh, I was told like I shouldn't be this intense, I shouldn't be this sensitive, I shouldn't have too many interests, yada yada yada. And just like existing in it, and not hating myself for it. And my therapist was like, you know, because she made me think of like, okay, as a kid, I was called, besides intense, I was called inquiete. And inquiete means like you can't stay still. Like you literally have like ants in your pants. And that was me like my whole life. I just like, and my therapist was like, okay, like when you see little you and someone calls little you inquiete or intense, what does little you do? And I saw little me like hear it and just keep dancing and keep moving and keep laughing and keep knocking things over and like just continue to be themselves. And I was like, damn, like I want to go back to that courage. I want to go back to like, even if it in one way it was registering as hurt and as like, you know, um it was still like I was still such a little firecracker and I was just like still so yeah, bringing back little Stefa is just like helping me. I don't know, helping me keep going and being unafraid,
Yeah,
they help me.
that's nice. I think. No, I mean, I'm thinking of myself like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of my like spiritual work is sort of to try to find a place for like different kinds of like displacement uh, without trying to like cover it up. Um, I think just because the nature of like growing up, like I think the whole idea, like to me, Zionism, which is something I grew up with, and it's sort of like the worst solution to coping with displacement. You're displaced for like thousands of years. You've actually created all these spiritual practices to like face longing, face sadness, face heartbreak without trying to cover it up with being like, okay, this is now a part of me. And then like the people who can't cope are essentially like, let's try to violently erase it by like displacing other people, taking over something with force, like sort of like creating an imaginary narrative that's like supposedly like cohesive and like nice. And I sometimes, when it comes to my journey with like gender or like who I become, I feel like a similar like pressure, like a pressure to perform a narrative that is somehow cohesive and somehow like returns full circle, you know, like,
Mm-hmm.
and though I have moments where I feel that, I also like, to me, there's also an element in which like, yeah, just childhood also has like a lot of like intense lack of agency. It's like a site of like helplessness in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, I'm just like reflecting back of like sort of hearing you talk about like this relationship with a child space, with the child self, and like being like, oh, I wonder how that must feel like, you know. I don't know if I just babbled, but
No, it was I think that making space for it not being a cohesive timeline or full circle is really important. And it's not like I'm like exactly like thinking about this time as like, because like actually being a kid is one of the hardest, scariest, maybe most violent times of our life. Like when we think about even just like what gendering does to a kid, like it's a lot. And it's a lot of the times it's just violence over and over and over again. So it's not even like returning to baby self like when I was free, but it's like saying like I'm sorry, you know, like, and I feel for you, and like I'm doing all this work so that like you could be free too. I don't know. I'm, you know, like
totally.
not to be
Wait,
like
I just want to
be
check in real
free.
time.
Oh my god, yeah, we've been going for
We're
53
going,
minutes.
yeah. So I could do this podcast for a while, but I also
I'm
want to make,
loving our podcast. This is kind
if
of
anyone's out there who
any
wants to,
producers out there.
any producers out there. No, but okay, so now let's talk a little practical. You're about to show us a sort of an exclusive glimpse
Exclusive
into
look, yeah.
a performance, film, visual, album, magic, ritual that you've created in collaboration with a lot of people, and feels like a big like stepping into like an envisioning of like a next step for your artistry. And I just wanted you to like maybe share with the audience what we're about to watch, also like who you made it with, like just give us the tea.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
This next video is an excerpt from a performance ritual opera film that I made during my time in residence at the kitchen. And it was, you know, a time of like, I'm so thankful for the kitchen and for them saying to me, you know, come with your biggest ideas and like don't hold back, and pretty much like going maximalist and like doing the most with my time there. And I collaborated with Lilith, who was my who was my creative producer and co-director for this film, and just allowed me to dream, and, you know, held so much space for me as a collaborator, but also as a friend. We worked with Kelly Shee, who was our lighting designer. We worked with my beautiful band. We worked with a wonderful audio engineer, Lily Wen. We worked with Lumi Tan, who was senior curator at the kitchen. We worked with Kathy Cho, who was a curatorial fellow there, to create this. It was a 16-hour day filming, and we treated it as a ritual. We treated it as a sacred space, where we could really go into this music and into this world together. And this clip that I'm going to show you, the film is called Born with an Extra Rib, the film. And this clip that I'm going to show you is a moment that I love where, you know, my work is, in maybe one way to describe it, is intense. And it's very, you know, but this is almost like we can kind of like just fall into this music and this moment where all of us are on stage together. And this is the moment in the opera where, you know, the queer opera gods have revealed themselves and are asking us, you know, giving us a call to action. And I wrote this piece, You Have to Act, based off of an Angela Davis quote, which is, you have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world, and you have to do it all the time. Which, you know, makes me think about loops and makes me think about, quote, the struggle and how it's a lifelong struggle to liberation. And I think, you know, that can manifest itself in many ways in our lives and in our communities. But this idea of, it's like, you know, we're going to be in this for a long time. And it's going to take a lifetime to, you know, return to ourselves. Like, it's, you know, it's a constant returning. So anyway, that's this moment of the film. This is a works in progress. Thank you to the kitchen for letting me share this. And we'll show You Have to Act, and we will come back and close out the Q&Q.
Mm-hmm.
I love you doing that.
I'm like Dolly Parton.
I don't have a like
Exactly.
go off. Oh my gosh. Thank you.
Thank you. That was so stunning. So yeah,
Thank you, my
it's
love.
time to, yeah. So I think we wanted to close as we started with sort of an intention. It seems from people I'm talking to, I think you're talking to too, that we exist in a moment that sort of, in some ways, the future is like a hard thing to imagine sometimes. And so maybe one helpful exercise to sort of strengthen our imagination is to sort of maybe think and say out loud, like, if the question is, if you had everything you needed, all the support you needed for your art, for your practice, for what that will do to your life, like, what do you imagine we'd be seeing? What do you imagine your practice and your art would look like? And obviously this, you're gonna tell us, and we also want to invite the audience to think what that answer would be for them. And also, if you can, if you're a person in the audience who can give Stefa what they want to meet, then we invite you to do that as soon as possible in the form of space checks. No, just kidding. But
Venmo at Stefa.
Exactly.
Because we're trying to make shows out here, and we're trying to make things, you know, that people can show up as themselves, you know, and not have to put on airs, not have to, you know, if you want to look cute, if that's part of your process, you know, we just want you to show up as you are. And you know, if I had the resources, if these resources or needs were met, I feel like I'd be singing with so many people, you know, and we'd all be singing together, just like in big. I mean, we do it when we're together. We do sing, we do invent our little songs. But I'm like, what if we were all doing that? You know, like just allowing ourselves to find the joy in being silly and in having, in like, you know, and in having fun like that together. No, but there would be lots of singing, there would be lots of instruments, there would be lots of space for us to play games. There would be a farm, and there would be, you know, all our hot farmer friends who would be like taking care of that if they wanted, teaching all the other queer cuties. They'd be cooking, you know, we'd be cleaning up. And this would all happen, you know, maybe on the same patch of land or something. You know, we'd be like skill sharing and learning. I'm like learning how to identify plants. Like, I'm like, I just want to be like, when I say I want to return to the earth, I'm like, I just want to get to know her, you know, like I really want to just have a deeper relationship with her. So maybe we all have like, we really celebrate her together on our art commune in the clouds. What about you? What does it look like to you?
I think in some ways it's similar. I think it looks like an investment in like time, both my and other people, like the ability to give people like really an extended amount of time in which like their relationship to production doesn't need to be like sort of like, it can, but it doesn't need to be like direct and linear and based on like an anxiety of like not having enough space, having only X amount of time. Like I could imagine a space where people come, you know, when you can like it looks like it may be investment in people and not their production. Like, sort of being like, if I, as whatever entity, want to support you, stefa, and like whoever wants to support me, Ita, it's not like for the duration of like to make like this specific show. It's like, here's this number of years of like support. If in that time you need to take care of your healthcare, you need to take care of your mom, you need to like travel, like we understand holistically that that's taking care of the artist. So I think a lot of it is like sort of, yeah, breaking that barrier between like production and like care for people. And then also just like, yeah, and I think envisioning like bigger. Oh, now you're doing it. We're trying to be earnest and romantic, you little fuck. Just kidding. But I don't want to end on me because this is still your moment. It's
Oh
our
my God,
moment, but
as
it's also
if. It's the Q&Q, baby. This is how it is.
totally. But before sending people away, I just wanted to ask if you have any last things to say, if there's anything you want people to be on the lookout for that's coming up, if there's
Thank you. Thank you for that space. You know, I just released my latest single, Costillas, and I'll be releasing the music video, which I shared with y'all tonight, very soon. My record is coming out early 2022, as is Born with an Extra Rib, the film. And, you know, right now I'm really thankful that I get to be a part of spaces with, you know, beautiful, like-minded, compassionate artists. And I hope there's more of that in my path, and I think there will be. And I will say, before I sat down for the Q&Q, I pulled a card from my tarot, and I pulled the Ace of Wands, which is a lovely card, and it's bursting with bright, fiery colors, reds and yellows and oranges, and the wand is like blooming and growing and gorgeous. And you know, it's I don't know, I think it's like a sign of like, you know, the overflowing beautiful art that connects us, and there's so much of that to share, and there's so much of it to go around. And you know, we have, I think, an upper hand in a way, where we are right now, and I think we have the right to ask for more, and always, and now even more than ever, and to really just demand what we deserve. And that is from spaces, yes, and institutions, sure, but also from ourselves and from our loved ones. And so I think, you know, the Ace of Wands is giving divine love, and is giving spiritual love, and is giving power and energy, and you know, operating on multiple levels. So I can only hope that it's an omen, you know, that, you know, this is the first Q&Q, but A24, our emails are open. Let's take this on the road.
I love it. They have these great fleece sweatshirts that everyone is, never mind.
I saw someone outside of Mood Ring with a little t-shirt that said A24, and I was like, we're making merch now?
They have
Okay.
merch.
For the
But
hype
on the note
beasts.
before the merch, on the abundance, vibrant color and bloom, let's maybe thank everyone again. Thank you, Stefa. Thank you, everyone from Prelude. Thank you, everyone who's still here listening. And thank you for the Chihuahua for being quiet for so long.
Wow. Thank you, Ita Segev. Thank you, Prelude. Thank you to whoever is watching out there. I can't wait to be in space with you. I can't wait to create beautiful things together. That's it for the Q&Q.